Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Hopefully more people will come through as the talk goes on. My name is Simran and I'm with Canopy. Canopy is a co-working space that's based in San Francisco. I'll put our website in the chat box and you can come check us out if you happen to be in San Francisco. Today's discussion is about exploring homeopathic care for current times with Janice Solomon. Thank you for being here. And then we will also be having a live Akashic Records reading with Lindsay Mann. All right, I'll let the two of you take it from here.
Great. So today the Akashic reading is going to be about homeopathic care for current times. That's what we're going to be opening up about.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And Lindsay, I think you're going to start that off, right?
Yes. So just quick introductions. I'll introduce myself and Janice introduce herself. So hi, I'm Lindsay Mann and I'm excited to be here with Janice and Simran and the Canopy community. Thank you for having us. I love working with Janice. We met within a network of wellness practitioners and we've been doing great group events together. And yeah, it's endless. There's so much to explore and we have so much fun. We're all very passionate about this work. So a little bit about my background. So I'm an intuitive healing artist, Reiki master, and I work in the Akashic Records. And I love to work in the Akashic Records to teach sustainability, to connect people to the land and to the natural world, and also to support clients one-on-one through any of life's challenges. So just a brief explanation of the Akashic Records, if you are unfamiliar. The Akashic Records are the electromagnetic imprint of everything that's ever happened. That is the more sciencey explanation of what the Akashic Records are. They are also the vibrational archives of every soul's journey throughout all its incarnations. So when we're dealing with particular people, people one-on-one, it's all of your past lives, everything going on in your current present life, and then all future possibilities. And the information that's coming through is for the highest good of you and everyone connected to you. And so you can also open the records on anything. So yourself, public lands, industries, the collective of humanity, the earth, and topics like today, we're opening the Akashic Records on homeopathy. So I'm really excited to work with Janice. I know very little, if not anything at all, about homeopathic care. And so this will all be new to me. And so when we're doing a live reading, I'm going to say an opening prayer to open the records, to access the records on homeopathy. And then we're going to start going through certain questions. So we're going to be asking from the Akashic Records perspective, what is homeopathy? How can homeopathic care be beneficial now? And what particular remedy do the records feel could be helpful for the collective at this time? And Janice is a homeopathic expert. So I am so thrilled to have her with confirming checks and balances with what's coming through for the records. The records are here in contribution to what Janice has to share about homeopathy.
Okay, it's a lot and it's all amazing. So I am Janice Solomon and I'm also really excited to be here for Wellness Wednesdays. And when Lindsay put out the idea, I'm like, yes, let's do this. I'm a holistic healthcare practitioner and I specialize in women's health, in homeopathy, and I have a body of work that I have personally created called Finding Your Feminine Core. And really what it's about is finding balance in our lives, in particular between feminine and masculine energy. But today we're going to be looking more at homeopathy. So I've been in private practice going on 18 years and involved with homeopathy, well, over 36 years. So there's a long history in my life, very drawn to this system of medicine that was started over 200 plus years ago in Germany by a medical doctor, Samuel Hahnemann, and coming to the present time with homeopathy, really the thing to think about in homeopathy is we're the idea of whatever's happening in our life, whatever symptoms we're experiencing, they're all signs from what I call the vital force, or perhaps you might call it your chi or your energy. And we're looking for something that's going to support the innate healing that our bodies are doing all the time anyway, rather than kind of fighting it. And so that's what my work is about. And I'm very curious to see what the Akashic Records, which I'm newer to, it's been a few years since I've learned, but when Lindsay uses words like vibrations and electromagnetic memories, imprints, that's so what I feel, because so much of what I'm doing as a homeopath is understanding the energy of different things that exist here on our earth. It's a very sustainable form of medicine and healing. We need a very small amount to be able to get the healing energy. So what else should I say? I don't know. I feel like we should go dive in. I'm excited.
Okay, awesome. Let's do that. So I'm going to say out loud the opening prayer for opening, accessing the Akashic Records. So I'll be saying that right now out loud. Some of it I say out loud and some of it I say internally to myself. And then once I say the records are now open, we'll start going through the questions. And it'll be like a question answer experience. So I will dive right in, and we are opening the Akashic Records on homeopathy. Okay. So this is the opening prayer, and you'll hear what it is. The vibrations, the words are requesting something very specific to be opened in a very specific way. So you'll see what that looks like, okay? And so we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. O Holy Spirit of God. Help me to know homeopathy in the light of the Akashic Records, to see homeopathy through the eyes of the Lords of the Records, and enable me to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of homeopathy have for it. The records are now open. So the first question, general foundational question, what is homeopathy? What is homeopathy? So I'm being shown the stalk of a plant and like the leaf of a plant, and it's being like cut into pieces, and there's like an emphasis on like the, for lack of a better word, like the juices. And then I'm being shown the leaves, drying them up, crushing them down, turning them into powder. And then they're showing like as if there's a flower, and now they're showing flowers and flower petals. And they're actually showing someone eat like a flower petal, like very fresh. Let me ask one more time. What is homeopathy? They said natural care. They said natural care. They're saying nature's abundance, natural world medicine, medicinal care, medicinal properties, characteristics, plant properties, flower medicine, plant medicine, ancient times, ancient wisdom for current times. So from what I just said, what is resonating with you?
Yeah, so cute. That's so cool. So let's start with the last thing you said, the ancient times. So the premise of the idea of something similar helping us is like cures like, which was actually written about originally back in ancient Greek times. Yeah. And then coming forward, when Hahnemann in the 1790s and going, he was a very learned man. He knew about this topic, and then he had more to bring to it. So it's very ancient in the sense that there are things here on our planet that have healing and natural healing abilities. So that's sort of beginning at the last thing you said. Then going back to the beginning, the plant part was very, very interesting. So one of the things that's often confused between homeopathy and, let's say, herbal medicine is that in herbal medicine, the plant, all different kinds of plants, flowers, and all different parts of the plants are made usually into tinctures or some other type of preparation. And I'm not an herbalist, so if anybody is listening and I'm getting it wrong, please, I apologize, but I'm to the best. And then you use that, the material amount of that you bring into the system to create some kind of shift and change in your health. So it's a material application, 3D material of that product. And then within that, we have all different phytonutrients and all kinds of things that affect our health. Homeopathy takes the plant, but then we go into a process which is called potentization, which is we're actually going to bring that plant into water, all the parts of it, and allow the energy of the plant, like think about energy in every little cell, we have these little electrons, woo, right? All that energy will dissipate into water or a liquid foundation, because water, if you know of Emato's work, that's the Japanese scientist who did all work with water holding energy, water holds energy. Mm-hmm. So the cutting up the plant, seeing all the parts, you wouldn't eat it directly, but there's the idea that in this, let's say, plant, it doesn't only have to be a plant, but since that's the image that came through, there's healing properties, there's healing energy. And we know that because we know that we have talk about ancient through all millennium, right? I always say that word wrong. We have healing energy coming and being used, plant medicine, herbal medicine, the earth medicine, right? We have all of that. But the homeopathy goes into the step of the energy realm. Now, back in those days, there weren't words like energy. So Hahnemann said things like dynamic and said things like vital force, and it's from German to English, it's translated. Let me think of what else you said. So natural healing, earth, all of that, yes, because anything that exists here on the earth that could be in the plant realm, but it could also be from a mineral. It could even be from an animal. Everything has the potential for healing energy. Mm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when that's matched up to what you might need assistance, like what I often say is your song, your internal vibration to be perhaps clearer or louder, then this energy from the plants or other things can be helpful. Mm. Yeah.
So I do want, they keep flashing this at me, or I'm being shown this over
and
over again. When you mentioned Greece,
yes,
ancient Greece, it kind of like cut in and was like Greek mythology and wanting to be godlike. Mm. I was kind of getting like Greek mythology embodying the concept of wanting to be like the gods, and so consuming nature. I'm getting like the powerful properties and characteristics of nature, right, so that people could feel and embody like the gods. And they were kind of showing me like big, strong, like Thor type of men, you know, like Greek gods. And so it was just interesting, like, because it kept coming through as you were speaking. that is a part of the origin. Is like they were like,
Yeah.
oh, see that tree that is so like robust and healthy. It's like, I wonder if some of that can be in me, so I can. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah. Because again, from an energetic perspective, so if you think about the idea of mythology or other things that are more subtle, they're not of the physical realm, right? We're not talking about the three-dimensional realm. We're talking about, we might say, energy, or have other words for that. So the God, not that anybody who's not that I don't pretend I think there's another word I'm trying to say. It's not that I am quote unquote acting like a God, but there is that godly or sacred or powerful healing, right? That could be in a realm that, in a world that's become so material based, right? We're looking, so we have this idea of like mythology, but it's way more than mythology. There's huge science and studies and all kinds of things that really show, especially today with quantum physics and things, we know that energy exists. But from a bigger perspective of world history and human history, it's hard to say that, okay, maybe in the last 100 years we have this information, right? Does that make sense? Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you might want to add to what is homeopathy from your
Yeah.
perspective?
Yeah, a couple other things I think would be worthwhile adding in. So there's sort of 4 points I like to bring up about what homeopathy is and is not. So I've already started touching base about, it's not herbal medicine or naturopathic medicine. It's a system of medicine unto itself, of healing unto itself, that is an energetic. So we're talking more in the realm of, like you mentioned, Reiki, acupuncture. We're looking at the energy of the system, the vital force. 2 is that we look at each person individually. So where you might, let's say, experience a headache, and I might experience a headache, and Alicia, I believe, is your name, and whoever is listening, everyone can have headache, but you all have an individual way of experiencing it. So to be able to get this idea of like cures like, it has to be for what you're experiencing. We're talking very small amounts, right? Because we're in the world of energy. So very, very like nanoparticles on the physical level and much more energetic. So that sometimes is hard for people to wrap their heads around, but I think more and more of us are feeling connected with the concepts of energy, like how we're communicating right now. It's all running through frequencies that we don't see by our, right? It's energetic. And so a small amount can create a very big shift. And we're looking for the idea of like cures like. So whatever it is that you experience or I experience, we're going to find something of this world of healing in nature that's similar as compared to allopathic, or what more is often is called Western medicine, which is looking for the opposite. So if you have a bacterial infection, you take an antibiotic. If you have depression, you take an antidepressant, the opposite, to end or stop. Whereas in homeopathy, homeo means similar. We're looking for something similar to encourage the healing direction that the vital force is already giving information about.
I really love that, and I haven't heard that before.
We're supporting what's happening.
Yeah.
So one last thought here, it just came to me, is that, so it's not the battle, it's not the I have to end it or suppress it, it's more, let's encourage the healing response.
Right.
Cool.
Like,
I love that you said that.
What's that?
I love that you said that, because people don't look at medicine in that way.
But the nature of allopathic medicine, which, by the way, that term was coined by Hahnemann back in the 1800s. So from homeopathic and allopathic, we're talking 2 ends of a spectrum, and they all have a place, because if you need something repaired, you want the allopathic care, right? But if we're dealing with something that's perhaps more chronic or in a different way, then we need this, the homeopathic, right? Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, let's go to the next question, because I could keep talking, but I would like to hear the next.
Okay, the next question is, how can homeopathic care be beneficial now?
Mm.
Okay. How can homeopathic care be beneficial now? I'm getting cause and effect, extremes. So it's kind of like what you were just kind of saying. I'm getting like antithesis, opposites. And there's very much the yin and the yang and good and the bad and everything trying to find its place. And it's kind of one extreme after another.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of saying that homeopathic care, really just based on what you said, is an allowance. They're saying allowance, observance. They're saying like reservation. They're saying unfolding pathways, but it's very much this allowance. They actually just were like, when they said, when they're showing me the word allowance, they showed me like a road, like a pathway that just kind of unfolded in front of me.
Mm.
And I can keep going now. And there, it might be a little windy, but it has a direction. It's going in a direction. And I'm actually even seeing that the straight direction feels really rigid and really not, I'm getting like, it's really confining and restricting and rigid versus allowing the path to go like this,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit here and a little bit here and a little bit here. And there's something, oh, it's like a flow.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And it makes me want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And like this allows me to like move forward in a very like gentle way, but it has a direction, but it's not hard and rigid.
Right, right.
Does that make sense?
Totally. And I have to say that I digress for a moment to say that that's actually the description of masculine and feminine energy. Masculine is to the point, get there, whereas the feminine, when we think about nature and the nature and what happens in nature, we have that. It's interesting because one of the ways I describe homeopathy is I actually have it written on a little note right here in my office. It removes the curtain and helps us to see a new way. Yeah, yeah. So
elaborate on
yeah.
that. Part of the remove the curtain. So when they showed me this like pathway, it was kind of like the yellow brick road, and it was giving me the sense of like the Wizard of Oz. So I wasn't going to say that, but as soon as you said that, I was like, I gotta say it. So go ahead. So
Right. So like you pull the curtain back, and there is this small person making this very big, almost like a hologram. I don't even know what to call that thing. But anyway, right. So when I said before, it's a very small nano amount, but what that effect is, it could be kind of like behind the curtain. There's this small like messaging to us, to that vital force, to that inner part of you. And then, yes, because healing, and that was one of the words that came up at the beginning, right? Healing is this. This is usually suppression, or often what's called palliation, right? I just want to get rid of the discomfort. I'm going to take my analgesic, and now, I don't have a headache. That's not healing. That's removing discomfort, palliation.
Mm-hmm.
So the premise, in a way, more of, just to compare, allopathic is really more that.
Mm-hmm.
The method of homeopathy, the methodology, is the healing journey. Literally, those are terms that I'll say. Mm-hmm. We're on a journey, and there will be times, just like a pendulum swings back and forth. Now, if you go to one extreme, you're going to have a lot of intense stuff going on. If you go to the other extreme, it could be just as intense. That could be like, oh, all the exciting positive things, but could it also be the really difficult, challenging things, but we're still in the extremes. Mm. This, what was that word you had? I think of balance, but you had another word that came up. You had a word right there in the middle. I don't know.
Allowance?
Yeah, allowance.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have, like, for me, the definition of health is we're here in, we'll call it the allowance or the balance or the somewhere in that center region, not one static point. That's not, we can't stay there. That's really the end of life. Okay, now I'm done. But life and the healing journey is a movement, right? And the idea, and I like that you showed it this way, not like this. It's not, and you're in San Francisco, it's not Lombard Street. Okay. Right? It's right. It has more gentle flow. When homeopathy is applied well, or other healing modalities, it's not only homeopathy, it's sensitive and aware to what each individual person, again, back to individual, how is their vital force already, and how are we going to encourage that journey? We don't want to intensify or make it more challenging, but we also want to bring it through. Does that make sense? So another analogy I often use is I say that it's like two songs are playing at the same time. So this is a little bit on the radios when we could actually dial, right? As opposed to our contemporaries, but you get two songs playing. You're in your car and you have two songs playing, right? Well, one song you don't want to hear and the other one you really want to hear. So the one you really want to hear is your song. And that other annoying song that's playing loudly are all your symptoms and all the things that you deal with in life. That could be emotional, physical, mental, even spiritual, energetic. So really what we want to do is quiet down that song and bring up our song. How do we do that? We encourage that vital force by bringing in some energy from something in this world to say, here, we're helping you. We're quieting you, we're helping you. So you feel more yourself. You feel literally the enlivened, full-bodied experience of who you are and why you're here this lifetime around.
They are contributing to what you're saying, and they're calling it a consciousness alignment. So does that resonate, where you would be bringing the consciousness of something from the natural world in plant form, etc., with human consciousness? So
exactly.
Okay.
And in the journey, the healing journey that I am on with people, and I'm literally just walking side by side. I never call myself a healer. I have a modality that helps healing. But in that journey, right, you are becoming more conscious and aware, because really the way we develop the deepest shift in ourself will come on that conscious level, that deeper level. The physical things will settle, but you need to feel that. If you just get rid of your discomforts, whatever those physical things are, which can be very serious, I'm not going to play that down, but then still that inner conscious being part of you is struggling. It's not really fully, it's not living in a conscious, higher dimensional way of living. Yeah. Yeah. So we have that opportunity to really feel that shift. And people literally will say to me, wow, I feel like completely like myself. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Akashic Records.
I love how much they contribute.
Yeah.
So the next question we have, what particular remedy do the records feel could be helpful for the collective at this time? So let's see. What particular remedy do the records feel could be helpful for the collective at this time? I'm getting thoughtful resilience, and they're giving me like the mushroom kingdom. I'm getting like mushrooms. I'm also getting, there's something about the community of mushrooms, but they're specifically likening mushrooms to the term resilience. They're saying bounce back, bouncing back. They're saying thriving in hard times. And what's interesting is like I'm getting like as if I have the sensation of like a mushroom, like I can feel the sensation like in my mouth of a mushroom, like there's like a softness but a firmness.
Mm.
They're saying they're bringing like those characteristics of a mushroom, a softness but a firmness. They keep saying resilience, resilience. And then what's also kind of cutting in is like citrus,
Mm.
and specifically lemon. And I'm getting them somehow in combination. So I'm going to ask one more time, but I'm curious what that means to you.
Yeah, yeah, okay, go for it.
What particular remedy do the records feel could be helpful for the collective at this time? They're kind of saying a bombardment of remedies, and they're saying, oh, in the same way we've had the bombardment of triggers and trauma,
Mm-hmm.
we also need a bombardment
Mm-hmm.
of remedy.
Mm.
They're saying remedial care,
Mm.
nature's medicine. They're saying homeopathic care. I'm getting that this has to be louder. This seems like more of a social conversation. This needs to be just as loud, if not louder, than the fear, the triggering, and the trauma. So I'm getting like the plants are looking for a voice, nature's looking for a voice, and so people being called to homeopathy, your voice is their voice.
Mm. Mm. Okay, so much here. So let me start with a couple of thoughts about homeopathic care, just to kind of give a little background information so I can answer this in what feels to me like a fuller way. So in any kind of healthcare, we can approach things acutely, meaning something that happens suddenly. You get exposed to a virus and you become ill. That's sudden. It's acute. It has a time limit and then it's over. You have a fall. You bump your leg. You have a bruise. Acute, sudden, right?
Mm.
Then we have what's more chronic or ongoing issues that could be long term, more serious level could be things like autoimmune diseases, things like this. But it could also be the everyday things we start to get used to living with, whether it's maybe we have mood struggles, we feel sad a lot, or perhaps women listening, menstrual issues, and so you sort of that becomes sort of the state that you're in for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have acute versus chronic, or often it's called acute versus constitutional, meaning your deeper state, your constitution.
Mm.
Okay. When we get involved with well, in this case, an epidemic, a pandemic, where so many people are being exposed to a similar thing, in this case, this virus, and I'm saying similar because there's our variations, right? Then now as a collective, there can be, even though I said about individual care, we can have something what we call a genus epidemicus, which is a few remedies that seem to help the collective as a whole. And this has been used for hundreds of years. There's so much incredible information about treating in the past. Even the 1918 Spanish flu epidemic was treated with homeopathy with a few remedies. They were called the genus epidemicus. So right now, what's really clear is there are a group of remedies, but it's not just a few. There's actually, it could be a dozen. There's a few that come out stronger. And then there's others that, oh yeah, that's helping people. But when people have called me, I've worked with about 85 people now who have either been positive on their PCR test or clearly having symptoms of the COVID virus. And for the most part, there's a handful of remedies, like you said, but then there's times where I have to just be giving a lot of supportive things. In general, that's not the way I practice when I'm out of an acute situation. I might have one general chronic constitutional remedy, maybe something else that's supportive. So we're really looking at a different way of using homeopathic care that's extraordinarily powerful and helpful and effective. But it's not one thing. It is not the one answer.
Mhm.
So, all right, I'm just going to say it. So we have really been programmed to think that there's really only a few things we can do to help ourselves in this particular health situation, right? So we've been told, mask and wash and be separate. And then there's really going to be only one answer, which will be the injection. But the truth is there's many, many things that will help us because we're holistic creatures. We're mind, body, and spirit. So we look at how are we feeling emotionally? How are we feeling energetically? How are we taking care of these physical bodies, nutritionally, supplemental wise? And then of course we can bring in the energetic healing, the homeopathy. Many, many things we can all do. So that I feel is the bombardment. There's a lot of ways we can come in. And as a homeopath, although that's my primary avenue, I am going to recommend other things that are still going to be extraordinarily supportive.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, so right now we're talking about a pandemic, but this would be true of other illnesses too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm dealing with people from the youngest to youngest with children and ear infections to people who are coming towards the close of their lives and struggling with things. And it doesn't matter, everything in between. We need support. It's like a hammock.
Mm.
So then you also said about the mushroom, fascinating. And there was a lot of stuff about fear, triggering trauma, plants, and then the mushroom kingdom and resilience. Oh my goodness. Okay, so as a homeopath, what I do is I learn about the different source material that these remedies can be made from.
Mm.
So mushrooms were actually not even considered plants. They're a whole nother species, phylum. I don't know. I'm bad on that one. Anyway, but the nature of those type of plants or things is that they keep going. They keep going, right? Right? Mushrooms, that there are mushrooms that are like the size of like football fields and bigger.
Mm.
And they also thrive. I think it's called saporific. They thrive. They can take material and matter and use it, things that have died, and reuse it and create life with it, their life. So they're the ultimate recycler and composter are mushrooms. And they're used, Paul Samet, I believe, is like the mushroom expert in I think in the US, maybe the world, talks all about how we can use mushrooms.
They just interrupted and said they also grow in darkness.
Yes, there's so much about mushrooms and the fungi as a whole entity. So as a homeopath, the energy, what I understand about the mushrooms and the fungi, and there are many, many, many possible things to use, is this being taken over. It takes over. And so if you think about, especially where we are right now, what has taken us over? Fear, anxiety, worry, let alone for some people, physical illness, right? So we have been literally, and as a homeopath, the languages, we call it the morbific influence, morbific, things that make us sick. We're in an influence, we're like in a gigantic cloud of energy. And so the mushrooms are incredibly resilient. They will keep going. They're like the cockroach of the plant world, is that they will go on no matter what, whether it's nuclear destruction or whatever, because that's their nature. They're going to compost and go in, and phenomenal. Citrus is fascinating. I feel like I don't know enough about the citrus in terms of homeopathic, but what I was feeling when you were talking about citrus is that we know that these plants that grow the lemons and the oranges and the grapefruits and all these beautiful things are incredibly nourishing, and they do create resilience. So I'm always telling people to drink, eat, and ingest if you can, because some people can't, but because it's so rich in vitamin C. that's what we get resilience from. So we
Mm.
can go back and forth. I can go back and forth, and I hope others can too, between what is a structure material, orange, to something, vitamin C, to how it affects us energetically, resilient, right? So we're the fluid, because we're both physical and energetic. So the remedies are made from material things, but then they move into the energetic place. We need all of that for resilience. We need to make sure that our inner energy, our inner battery, whatever you want to call it, is charged. And in terms of trauma and triggering, yeah, the so many people are now talking about having all kinds of traumatic, either post-traumatic feelings or in the traumatic feeling, because that's what this is. This is a traumatic time. And that soft and firm thing that you were feeling with the mushroom and at the beginning, I feel like that is the dance. There's a place that we need the firm and the structure, but especially with trauma and struggle and things like that, we also need the soft, the compassion. And so the remedies come in, the homeopathic remedies come in. And again, a practitioner is helpful to know just how much of that energy to come in. You don't want to, right? You want to encourage the healing. And yes, we will bounce back. And yes, hard times are actually an opportunity. Zach Bush talks about, Dr. Zach Bush talks about that viruses are actually a message. It's a messaging. We're getting information, and then we have to use that consciousness to become resilient and bounce back. Yeah.
When you said the messaging, I just got screaming.
Screaming.
Yeah.
Oh, I got the chills just now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much that we can understand. There's so much that we don't understand. Our egos get in the way. The process of working homeopathically, meaning using the homeopathic remedies, working with a homeopath, is to kind of like, again, that song, right? Our song is not about ego. Our song is our true essence of who we are. Perhaps the other song could be the ego, you know what I mean? So attached to the issues that might come up, whether they're emotional or physical or, yeah.
They're saying that the screaming, it's the ecosystem screaming.
Yeah. Yeah, the earth is.
As you're talking about homeopathy and this balance and the balance of the ecosystems, it's part of our world, earth, planetary ecosystem screaming.
Yeah. From one plant, so a lot of people have heard of the homeopathic remedy Arnica montana. Arnica is from a plant called Arnica. It grows on the hillsides. It was known as a plant medicine, as an herbal medicine, because if you're doing a lot of hiking and things and you're going up these big steep mountains, your muscles will get fatigued and sore. So the people knew that if we used this plant, we could have relief from the exertion, the sore muscles, this type of stuff. Yeah, so we have this beautiful plant. Then we learned how to make from Hahnemann, taught us how to make these into homeopathic remedies, releasing the energy, the healing energy. And now we can use this one plant and make endless amounts of this energetic remedy. So talk about sustainable and how to help the earth. One plant, even part of a plant, doesn't always have to be the whole thing, can now create literally endless supply of the energy that we can use. How happy is Earth with that? One small amount of mineral, actually table salt, sodium chloride, becomes a very, very well-known homeopathic remedy. One piece of a shell from an egg or a feather, you don't have to hurt the creature, can create healing endless amounts of healing remedy source.
I'm just getting something about like mass consumption. And then when you were talking about ego, mass consumption is the ego trip. Mass
Right.
consumption is the ego trip. It's
Right.
the impatience, the fast track, the opposite of allowance.
Right. And with homeopathy, we use just a teeny amount. I tell people to take, if you've ever used, anybody watching this, if you've ever used a homeopathic remedy, the little pellet, I say, put it in some water, stir it up, let the water go back, the energy go back into the water, take a teaspoon and over and over and over. Some one pellet can create dozens of doses. And you can buy one of those little, I didn't bring one into the room, containers of homeopathic remedy that could be like a lifetime supply. Wow. So it's like literally the opposite. We don't need huge amounts and over and over and over. We can use this in a very judicious and wise and earth loving way. Yeah.
Wow. I'm like feeling all of that. I'm wondering if we'd like to open up any questions. If Alessia, you're joining us, if you have any questions, Simran, if you have any questions, before maybe I close the records and we kind of wrap up.
I'm just fast excited. This is the first time I'm actually like hearing about the work that, you know, that the work that you're doing, Janice. Like, I mean, I've always like had a sense of what it was, but it's been so insightful and like great to hear it. Like, you know, energy and balance and how you can like go through life with that, which I also believe in, but I haven't like honed in completely on the work that you do. So thank you so much for sharing that.
I'm so glad. And I feel like a big part of my reason to be here, you know, we're talking about like, is to share this information, to let people know that this is a really, this is a really effective, long-lasting way to work with our health. And it interweaves with whatever else you're doing. So if you're using some allopathic care, like we were talking earlier, if you decide to get the injection, so then we can use the homeopathic remedies to help mitigate any issues that come up, right? If you have gotten sick right now with the COVID virus, so then we can use the homeopathic remedy, even side by side. If you've also decided to take some pharmaceuticals, it's okay, because we're talking about energy and material.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's beautifully complementary.
And I think a lot of it is just like your own, like, what do you feel good doing? Right? Like, is it like, because I personally, like, you know, if I'm feeling sick, it's like I don't want to go the direct route of like, oh, I'm just gonna like take a pill and say, I feel like this is happening right now. So let me ride with it. And you know, so I was feverish the last 2 days. It was like, I just have to write it out. Like, this is like the world telling me to slow down. So
the message, right?
Yeah.
Message,
so it's like, okay, I'm just gonna go lie in bed with a blanket on my face because that's what I'm being told to do.
But that's interesting, Simran, because that's how you experience those symptoms, right? But someone else might have a very different experience, and they do, because I talk to people all the time, right? So fever could be, I can't lie still, I feel so restless. When is this going to be over? Will something worse happen? That's a very different experience. And so both of you would have a different homeopathic remedy that could be, you know, supportive and helpful for what you're experiencing. That's that individual part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like with me, like as I've, you know, gotten older, like it's like I just have to listen to myself. You know, like, okay, people might need me right now, but then like how am I going to be helpful to them if I'm looking after, like, if I have a fever, then I need to look after myself.
Right, right. And in the end, we all have to be in self-care, right? I mean, I have 4 grown children. I remember very early on as a mother, I realized if I don't feel well, if I'm not operating, to my optimal, what am I going to be able to do for anybody else?
Yeah.
So it all, and the societal messages, oh, well, then you're being, too self-involved or selfish. No, you're being self-caring and self-loving. Yeah.
I just got time for allowance.
Time for
You need
allowance.
time for the allowance. You need time for the healing, time
Right.
for the observation, the witnessing.
Yes.
It
Right.
requires
Because
time.
it does.
Flow. It's a slowdown.
Healing is not what we have been taught. We have been taught to suppress or palliate our feel, or whatever we're struggling with. Healing is a journey. When you come out on the other end, you do see things differently, like we said earlier. You have gone on like, oh, wow. And you do have more resilience. And I could go on and on and on about this. It's like one of my favorite topics. Yeah.
Have you found that you've been getting more clients during this time?
It was very, very busy the first wave. So from January, February of 2020 through springtime, maybe right around now, extraordinarily busy.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the weather changes, this is a natural occurrence. Whenever the weather warms, we have more green leaves, more oxygen in the air, less carbon floating around. We will have less disease. That's why influenza season peaks March, April, drops down. So that's why we're seeing it drop down. We have more vitamin D. We're out in the sunshine. So I've had some this winter but not as much as last year. That's just been my personal experience.
Yeah.
But I do actually think that we're going to have another wave again when we come into the cold weather again.
Mm-hmm.
Cold. Well, at least in this part of the world, the northern hemisphere, and certainly, yeah.
Yeah, I think that, because I work co-working spaces, so I'm around people all the time. And I'm seeing like the patterns that people have. The second wave, and I think there's going to be another one. People know how to handle it now.
The information has come through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So before it's like a huge panic, everyone just like shut down. Now it's like, okay, I've dealt with this before. I've like learned some tools the first time it happened. I'm seeing more people like being more conscious about how to apply those the second time.
Yeah, yeah. And there's some messaging that's it's interesting. We were talking about mythology earlier on. There's some myths that are out there that are really not accurate. Like when the human body is exposed to a virus, it creates antibodies, which gives us resilience to the second, like people getting sick a second time is that's not really accurate from a medical science perspective. Either people haven't been fully recovered, or the testing, which is very complicated and not always accurate, is not accurate. But once you get exposed to a virus and have antibodies, that is your lifetime response, So people knowing how to deal with it better could be they actually got sick, or what they're also dealing with is the emotional aspect of it, right? Because disease and a pandemic is not just the physical illness. Remember this morbific cloud, the anxiety, the worry. So now I have more antibodies, right? I have more immune response. I know how to deal with that better. So I've downloaded the information. I have a better response now. I'm more resilient. Doesn't mean you can't still physically get sick. You can.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's many levels. And that's the beauty of the homeopathic care, is that because we're looking at the vital force, the energy, we're looking at that connects to everything, all parts of us, not just one.
And how can people get in contact with you?
Sure. Yeah. So my website is my name, Janice, Janice, Solomon, Solomon, JaniceSolomon.com. It'll take you to my website. It's also called resonanthealingny.com. Resonant, 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 like vibration, resonant healing. You can find me that way. And yeah, you can call me. I always do a 30-minute free discovery call, which is really an opportunity to say, what's going on? Let's see if this is a good match for you. And am I the right person to help you with this journey? And during this time with people being sick and or getting injections, I'm doing care just to help people with this acute situation for sure. Yeah. So I'm here if you, yeah. Thank
And
you.
I'll be, when we post this on YouTube, I'll, like in the blurb, I'll put information in there also. Yeah.
Anything else, Lindsay, from the records? Are they telling us anything else?
Let's see if there's a most important message. Let's see a most important message. What's the most important message that needs to come through? Stay calm, slow down. Stay calm, slow down. They're like, remove triggers. When you know something's a trigger, remove it. And they just showed a remote to turn a TV off.
I love that.
Ooh. Let me just say the quick closing prayer. I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the Lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view. And I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of God for all knowledge and healing. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. The final thing that came through was the song Staying Alive.
Love that.
And it was like a celebration. It was like a celebration, but it's kind of like, go look at the lyrics of that song.
Okay. All right. I think the Bee Gees wrote that. So I want to just close with one thought that as a homeopath, really what my work is about working with people, not just conditions or symptoms. It's about the whole you. It's that whole song. And yeah, things will improve, but really my approach as a homeopath is to be whole person centered. Thank you so much. Lindsay, thank you. That was amazing.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you, Simran. Thank you, Canopy Community.
It was so fun, like watching this whole thing. That was great. Thank you so much. And yeah, so we're going to be having another one in 2 weeks' time. What's the one that's happening in 2 weeks' time? I forget.
Nikki Beloy, shamanic healing.
Yeah.
Healing and community.
Yeah, and community, yeah, healing community. I'm looking forward to that one. You also have like, I'm also looking forward to like finding a G-spot one.
Yes, she's a lot of fun. Marissa Sullivan. Yep, you're gonna love. Yes.
Yeah. There's some good ones coming up. Okay, well, you'll find us on YouTube, and hopefully, well, I'm doing all these with Lindsay, but Janice, I hopefully I will see you soon.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.